And we are recording. And there we are. Hello. Hello, Daniel Flaves. How are
Hello,
you?
hello. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this and for coming onto the blog.
No problem at all. I've kept up with it. All very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's going all right. How's lockdown treating you?
As all right, actually. Oddly, at times it's a roller coaster. I like it sometimes.
You
It's been
like
nice
it?
to not completely, but like sometimes it's nice to not do, to have a day like relaxing, and then after a while it gets, you know, as much as I like doing nothing, when you've done nothing for 3 months, it can
Yeah,
get a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
get a bit more irritating. But no, yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
need must.
Um, Obviously we'll come on to where you are later on. Obviously, you're not in the country, are you? You're not in the UK at the moment. Uh,
No, I'm not in the UK.
how's is lockdown any kind of different where you are compared to what we're going through, or are there any changes?
I'd say what's been most interesting. I mean, I'm in Thailand. I'm not in France, but but yeah, I'd say initially because it started here. The lockdown in Thailand started earlier by a couple of weeks. Like general lockdown compared to school lockdown, it was all masks and then hand sanitizers, and then it went. There was a shift around the same time as the UK to a curfew and a full scale, not allowed to go anywhere. Only places open are supermarkets, but that's face masks, and so yeah, I'd say it's similar in a lot of ways in terms of the same general day to day. Everyone's doing nothing. Um, Acquiring new skills or whatever, or just watching Netflix and gaming. I might be the latter. But the what's different, I'd say the biggest difference is we get our temperature checked quite regular. Like I live in, it's called a condominium, which is like basically a load of flats, and outside the security guards. And since the beginning, you enter, you get your temperature checked. And that's wherever you go. Now it's different now. Things are starting to open. We've got our shops are open. The pool that's on the roof of these flats opened Monday. So I went today and look at me. Oh, I've got a pool. There's a
I know
pool on my
swim.
roof. It's still limited to 3 people at a time. You're only allowed up there for an hour. You have like if you're in a conference with these clip-on cards that you need to carry with you.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, I'd say generally lockdown's the same, but yeah, we've added masks, no loo roll shortages, and just hand sanitizer everywhere.
That's
So
really interesting. That's really interesting. I think one of the biggest criticisms about kind of how the UK has been dealing with it has been on border control with the lack of taking people's temperatures and stuff. I mean, I don't think anything's changed now, but it's interesting. It's nice to hear that other places are using some initiative and are bringing in, these measures. So yeah, so like I said, anyway, thank you for doing this. I think a good
no
place
problem.
to start is to say, obviously, me and you, we were radio co-presenters, were we not?
Hey, we were back in
Back
there.
in there.
Uh, we're not that old, but yeah, we were. What would it be? Like 3 years ago
3 years, yeah, yeah. And
now. It was
many,
nice
many great
many.
memories. Many great
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's good times. I really enjoyed doing that show.
It was good.
Interesting, and obviously we met through the drama circuit
Yeah, we did
at
indeed.
UT. So yeah, many good times, many good times.
Back,
Miss them, do miss them.
I do miss them as well. Back when life was more simpler, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a bit less intense and a bit less grown up. Although I get away with still being a bit of a kid. But
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
okay then. So let's start then. So obviously you grew up in Nuneaton. So
yes,
my researchers tell me, my researchers being myself, and obviously you decided to go to the University of Leicester
yes,
to study
indeed.
English and history. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, you've done your research. Yes.
I have done research. So, what influenced that decision to want to go to University of Leicester? Because it's very close to obviously where you grew up, and B to study English and history.
Well, with University of Leicester, I was kind of with the mindset of it was far away enough. I hadn't been Leicester that much prior to going to university. It was far away enough to establish my own life. You know, it was like 30 minutes on the train, but it was still a different place, still different people that I didn't know. You know, a completely different experience. Because I remember having a conversation with somebody at sixth form, and they were going to Edinburgh, which is obviously very far from Nuneaton. Yeah. And he was saying, "Oh, why are you going so close?" And I was just like, "Well, it's far away, and you know, I'm not living at home. It's far away enough to be separate and to have my own life and my own bubble, but close enough if I wanted to go back for celebrations or, you know, God forbid, an emergency. It was close enough to be able to do that." And, you know, looking back, maybe I did kind of set my heart on going somewhere like Leicester very quickly. My dad sort of helped me through that process, and I didn't necessarily look round loads and loads of places. Yeah. But I don't regret that decision. And, you know, I still lived there for 3 years and still got that uni experience that anybody would get anywhere. Just shorter travel time when I wanted to go home or wanted to come back, you know.
Yeah. And I relate to that because obviously I grew up in Erflinborough, a little village near Wellingborough, near Kettering. And it's very much the same, you know, like whenever I drive home now, it's only about a 45-minute drive, you know, so it's still quite, still not that far away at all. But like you were saying, it's still far away to have your own life and, you know, to have that city experience, really.
Exactly. You know, it didn't affect me in any way. Just in case I needed anything, it was easier for people to get to me if need be, or friends to visit. You know, it made sense. And looking back with Leicester winning the league the year that they did, being at Leicester, absolutely no regrets to experience that when we did. You know, so it became the talked about city, didn't it? So
it was an incredible year, honestly. Watching, I mean, obviously, I don't support Leicester, but I mean, still being able to watch them lift the trophy and the whole title celebration was absolutely fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant.
Best time to be in the city. Best time to be in the city. Worst time to work in a pub.
It was the it was the Chelsea Tottenham draw, weren't it? They drew 2-2, I think. And so that confirmed that Leicester had won the league, and then you know, everyone went out into the town, and everyone was happy. Everyone was happy.
Oh, because I was working a shift at Good Old Loaded Dog. I was working that night, and you know, like I say, horrible time to be a barman because it was just chaos. But then going out afterwards and like seeing some of the players and actually dance with a couple of the players that night, and it was such a good vibe in the play, you know. And the parade, really good memories from that.
And Leicester's really missed it, you know, since. I think genuinely, even though that was the 2015-16 season, I've not known Leicester to be as ecstatic as it was then. You know, it's just
peak of the powers, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the peak of their powers. You know.
And like you're saying, we were both lucky, obviously, to be here to be part of that. You know. Okay then. So you decided to study English and history.
What
was your thought process behind that?
Just a general passion for the subject, or just enjoyment with us both subjects. I did them both at school and then at A level, and I just really liked both subjects. So it was one of those, you can either go down one of the avenues or the option to do the joint honours. I thought, okay, I didn't quite know how it would work, but I thought I liked both these subjects. I can see myself going into an area with both of these subjects because I've got that interest. And I just thought, if they're offering it to me, why not take it? Because, you know, so there's that discrepancy, or people thinking, oh, joint honours courses, you know, you're not getting a full flavour. But I felt like I got enough. You know, I got, and English and history, they're combined. Some subjects, I mean, you can combine any subjects, and some don't necessarily go well with others. But English and history kind of complement each other.
Yeah.
Same sort of style, you know, there's crossover there. Because obviously in English you look at context, and context is essentially history. So yeah, there was that crossover, and the enjoyment would carry me through. Is how I looked at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I can imagine there's lots of transferable skills there between the two subjects.
Yeah, and I'd say, and like on a social point of view, because it was a joint honours, and you know, the only time I really spent with English and history undergrads was that initial meeting on day one. Then you go into English lectures and you go into history lectures, so you meet all two different types of people, you know. So and you get different experiences from that, and yeah, like I say, they complement each other in a lot of ways.
So no regrets at all then? No regrets? You don't ever kind of look back and wish that you specialised in one of the subjects?
No, not at all. No, I wouldn't say so. It's not held me back so far. So
no, yeah. Oh, fantastic! There we go then. And obviously, I know that you had a great time at university. I saw you on many nights out, and you really kind of took the university experience to the full. Let's put it that way.
I don't know what you're talking about, B-Lock. I don't know. No.
Very
cheers
good
to
then.
that. I say cheers to
that. Okay then. So obviously, you went into teach. So you know, university ends, and you went into teaching. You started to do your PGCE.
Yes.
When did you decide that that was kind of the career path that you wanted to take?
It's a difficult one because it was always on my radar. You know, I think I was quite lucky towards the end that I'd made that decision that I would go into teaching when it came to like third year of uni. But it was always journalism or teaching were the two that I thought, okay, I can see myself in one of these areas. And you know, I'd had a good experience with teachers myself throughout education. You know, I was quite lucky in that sense. And I kind of felt like teaching played well to my skill set in terms of being in front of people. I was used to that, doing various different things like drama and, you know, being on the radio. And
you're a very social person anyway, you know, so.
I try. Yeah, so I felt like that played into that quite nicely. And I put this on my, I'm giving away trade secrets here. I put this on my CV and like my covering letter. I always put, you always remember your good teachers, because you do. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, you always remember the good ones, because, or the bad ones, but mainly the good ones, because they impact your life in such a way. And you know, you can go through life and you come along and experience all these specialists, but teachers, everybody has a teacher in one way or another, you know. And I felt like that was my way of having a career that was worthwhile and played to my strengths. You know, you get that, those that can't do teach and everything like that. But you know, it's a different ball game indeed. But certainly when it came to third year, I'd made that sort of path. You know, I did a bit of support in first year at uni as part of one of the modules for English, and I quite enjoyed it. And then it was actually my nan's hairdresser's daughter, because it's who you know. It was her. She was quite high up at a department in the school in rugby in an English department. And, you know, I got into contact with her about potentially doing a bit of shadowing, a bit of observations. This was prior to finishing third year. And that really cemented me, okay, yeah, I can... No, second year, sorry. It was Easter of second year. It was that far back. And that kind of cemented me on that route, which then led, you know, the way it works, I'll have to apply for a teaching post during third year, and then it's a conditional as opposed. But my conditional was lowered to 2.2 which didn't really help me with my final university grade, admittedly, because that's all I needed.
Yeah,
and you kind of go into mindset then, and I do regret that, and I do regret it every, you know, most days. You reflect, and especially times like this, and I knew I could do better, and I wish I had worked harder. But at the same time, it got me to that next step. Same as GCSE gets you to A-level gets you to undergrad gets you to masters, etc., etc. It got me to the PGCE, which then started this process, you know. But certainly by end of second year, I kind of had an idea that I'd end up taking this route. Not to Thailand, but
but you knew that that was the career that you were gonna, you know, you're gonna embark on, regardless of where you were going.
Give it a go. And you find, like, what really amazed me. I mean, we'll get. I assume, I don't want to second guess. I assume we'll get onto Thailand in a bit.
We will, yeah.
Even teaching in general, how much older people are, because people have that gap of after university where they're trying different things, and I felt quite young in comparison because people were a few years older than me. By the time I remember sitting in the lectures, the teaching lectures, and feeling like a student, feeling like one of the kids. It was strange, but it's what I wanted to pursue. So I thought, why not do it while I can?
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose it's one of those careers that if you've got the expertise, you have the knowledge, you can kind of come in and out of, can't you? I suppose. I'm thinking maybe not so much for English, but I'm thinking more specifically for, say, like Des Tech or like a science kind of subject. If they want to go and work in the industry, then come back to teach. I suppose it's quite obviously there's not always that position there for them, but I suppose the career is quite flexible in that kind of way, isn't it?
Yeah, because you've got, at the end of the day, you have the qualification.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite common that people dip in, dip out. I'm not saying that I won't do that at some point. I don't know, but it's there, and everybody needs teachers. There will always be a need for teachers. You know, we're not going to all be replaced by robots in 30 years.
Well, fingers crossed.
Touch wood. Everyone. There's always a spot for teachers.
Yeah.
And that's the rewarding element of the profession, I guess. And even more so now we're in lockdown and we're in this period where everyone's reflecting. I find, besides the obvious NHS, etc., in the UK, teaching will benefit, because there's got to be some benefits from it. You know, teaching will benefit as a practice because of the people homeschooling and because of the parents taking on that responsibility. I hope that teaching will get the recognition it lacks, because all you tell somebody you're a teacher, oh, you get the holidays then, don't you? You get the holidays. You're hardly ever in, are you? Like, okay, yeah, I've heard it before.
I suppose those type of people, they're not the ones that consider how much of your own time you spend marking. And from conversations I've had with you, I know that when you it's not like a job where when you're off the clock, you're off the clock, is it? You go home and then you've got to continue your marking, and it never stops, does it?
That's the misconception. That's the misconception with teaching. People assume 8:30 to 3:30, and then when the kids leave, the teachers are racing them out the door. And it's just not the case. That there are so many variables outside of the typical marking, planning, communicating about different things. You have the parents' evenings, you've got open evenings, etc., etc. There's always something. Awards evenings. There's other things on the calendar, and it does. If you're not careful, it does consume you. I mean, I've only been in it for 3 years, building up. This is my first year as an official, not newly qualified teacher, and you do. It is easy for it to consume you as well, because at the end of the day, these teachers, they care. And that's the big thing. They care about the kids, and they're willing to go the extra mile for them, at the expense of their own time, quite a lot of the time.
Yeah. So, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but you teach secondary education, don't you? Secondary school kids, yeah. So,
teenagers in all their glory.
So when it came to that decision then of whether you're going to go into primary school teaching or secondary teaching, or even I suppose you can do one for further, can't you? I suppose, but like, what made you decide that you wanted to teach the moody teenagers that bring all their moody problems to school with them, and
It's there was that point where I had to make that choice whether to be a specialist or go into primary teaching, which is very much in a different way a challenge because you're dipping your toe in various different subjects. Whereas I very much wanted to go into English or history specialist as a whole. And then it came, I had two choices really. It was secondary or primary. And I went for secondary for that specialist nature, as well as, I guess, that rapport that, you know, I like that rapport that you have with the teenagers, because once you get them on side, you can have that little bit of banter with them. And that's the sort of teacher that I am.
Yeah.
You know, rightfully or wrongfully, I teach them what they need to know, but I don't treat them like, there's that mentality, don't smile until Christmas, that, you know, that some people do. And I'm not saying it doesn't work for some people, but for me, it doesn't, because I feel like the backbone of and the foundation of teaching is that relationship you have with the kids. You know, you can't have a good work ethic. The kids can't have a good work ethic if they don't get on with you in the first place. If they don't like you, you're in trouble. You know, you can't scare them into doing an essay for you. There has to be that basis. So that was the reason for secondary. And then to choose between English and history, because I could have gone into both, it was more the fact that English is the requirement. You know, history is the option, whereas English, it's more of a challenge, in my opinion, because they have to do it. Everyone has to do it, whether they like it or not. And a lot of them don't. They have to do English. So it's that extra challenge of getting student X to that C grade, even though they wouldn't want anything else. They'd rather do anything else than read Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
it's that sort of that challenging element that keeps it fresh, and every day being different, I guess. You know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I did a bit of teaching experience in a primary school a few years ago when I was exploring whether I didn't, you know, enjoy teaching or not. And all I can say is, honestly, fair play to primary school teachers, because that is a blooming tough job. I only did it for 2 weeks or something like that, and wow, like it's like you said, it's a whole different ball game, but it's so similar in terms of how much of a challenge it is.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my mum's a TA at primary school, primary level, and even the responsibility on her as a teaching assistant is intense. And you have to do, as part of the secondary qualification, you have to go in and do I'm trying to remember now. It was a working week at a primary school. And I split mine into 5 Fridays, five Wednesdays during my training year. So I'd have a day there every Wednesday, and just observing, you know, because they're at a different stage of their life, and they're very needy. They're more needy because they're developing as kids.
Yeah.
And I had a sister. Well, I have a sister, teenager now.
I had a sister.
I've not forgotten about her. Out of sight, out of mind. See you later. No, I've got one. If she watches this, she'll kill me now. I've got a sister, and around the time I was training, we're talking, should be year five. So, and she was at this school. So I wasn't with her, but I'd see her, and having my sister at home as well, you do see that challenge, just putting up with her at home, let alone someone putting up with kids that age 6 hours a day with no respite. That's what I like about secondary teaching as well, without sounding too controversial, is you might have the worst class in the world, but you have them an hour a day. Yeah. You know, if you get a really bad primary class, you're stuck with them. There isn't that sort of sense of relief that you get from only teaching them once at secondary.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's go on to the big topic then, the big topic of the conversation then. Okay, so you obviously made a decision to go out to Thailand and teach English in Thailand. I have lots of questions about this, you know, but we'll start off with...
I should hope so for this interview.
We'll start off with why. Why did you want to teach English in Thailand, and why Thailand, and why did you want to go abroad to teach English?
Why not? Next question.
Right, interview done.
I just wanted to see what you did. I wanted to test you. I was like, oh,
Record
okay, let's see
over,
what he
we're
does.
finished.
Yeah. No, I came at a point when, so this was my NQT year this time last year. Just over a year now, because around this time last year I'd made this decision. Around this time, actually. And it was a case of, I was always one of these, even when I started training, I said, oh, I'd love to teach abroad at some point. But even when you say that, when I was training, you say it and you don't quite believe it yourself. You sort of say it, it's a shot in the dark, like, oh yeah, I'd love to go abroad and teach. Not thinking, oh, I'm actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this thing that I was reaching a point. My lead up to this point was quite rocky, really, because I'd had a year at a training school. And there were 3 of us trainees that had become friends. You know, we'd all interviewed to become trainees together, all English, English subject trainees. But there was only one job at this training school. So it went to somebody else. I'm not bitter. And went to somebody else, and that meant I had to move on to another school. Quite a tough school, this was. And I completed up until Christmas there, but then an opportunity came up to go back to my training school on a temporary contract, but hopefully with potential to stay on.
Yeah.
So I went back to my training school because it was something that I knew. You know, I knew the department. It was a really strong department of about 25 just English teachers.
Oh wow!
It was a big deal, and so I was part of this good group. And then things started to change, you know, there was changes in leadership and a lot of people were moving on from this tight-knit group of a few years. So it came to that point where, excuse me, I had to make a decision whether I stayed on with some of those teachers under this new regime, which it weren't, you know, when anything changes, you're wary because you don't know. It could be good, it could not be good. Yeah. Or I remember one of the people I was leaving was my nan's hairdresser's daughter, who had just became the head of English and then was moving on. And she used to, because I can't drive, again, that big kid element of me, can't drive. She would take me into work and back, and we'd talk about all sorts. And she said to me one day, so you always talk about potentially teaching abroad. Why not give it a go at this point in my life? You know, I was 23, single, no ties to, you know, family and friend ties, but no concrete, I have to stay here ties, but to back home.
Yeah, of course.
And I thought, you know what? Why don't I apply? Why don't I just give it a go? Give it the interview experience alone. And so I was interviewed, ended up getting the position, and then at that point you go, oh, what? Okay, this is different. And there was that sort of period of time where I was mainly communicating with my dad because my mum is very home bird, you know. She likes to keep me home or at arm's length close by. And I hadn't told my mum that I'd got the job. I went through my dad, and it coincided with a trip with my friends. We were going to Sofia in Bulgaria for like a week. And I remember saying to my dad, like, can you tell her? So I'm going away. You tell her I've got this job and I'm going to take it. Like, because, so I basically did a runner. I sort of hid away. I'm the coward that went hiding across Europe, so he didn't have to tell his mum.
That is terrible, Flavs. That's absolutely terrible.
Guilty as charged. But it just came a point when you kind of forced, I could have said no. Yeah. But I thought, you know, I could have waited a year, because my big worry was, okay, I've only just qualified. Am I ready, really, to go out here and do this, you know, as a specialist? But you look at it, if I'd waited a year, for one, this happened, COVID happened, which meant there was no way I would be going to teach abroad in this upcoming August if I wasn't already here. And if you wait a year, so much can happen in a year, can't it? You know, I could be 24, You know, ladies queuing up, have to go through, you know, settle down, and then I can't go to Thailand to teach. So it kind of, it all aligned. It all aligned for me, essentially, to take this big jump. But what was really weird about it is you make this life-changing decision, and then you just don't tend to think about it that much. You know, I remember I had a leaving party, and I went away to Ibiza with my friends, and I had all these experiences, and then which meant I wasn't thinking about it, and then all of a sudden, it came to that point when I was like, "Oh, I'm going tomorrow." You know, literally the run up to going was my family went away on holiday the day before, really, that I went to Ibiza. So they left, and obviously I said goodbye to them, because when there was like a crossover, I was going to Ibiza, but I would be back and then going to Thailand. I had basically had a day at home in between Ibiza and Thailand. Wouldn't recommend it, if I'm honest. Like, that long journey, I tell you, we've kind of carried on, you know, lemonade up in the head. And essentially I was missing. This is why I didn't think I'd get the job, because I'd said to them, I'd gone to the interview and I said, I can't do these dates, which are the training days, because I'm in, I didn't say Ibiza, because, you know, I went, I'm on holiday, you know, I can't. Yeah. And they were like, oh, no, it's fine. So I missed these 3 training days, which is daunting enough in itself, because obviously a lot of new teachers would come. They'd all get to know each other on these days. Yeah. And then you got me going, hi, guys. Yeah. So I travelled. I got back Thursday night from Ibiza, had Friday at home, and then Saturday morning I flew to Thailand. And that was the run-up that I had until I came out here. And like I say, I got here Sunday, equivalent Sunday morning, Sunday midday-ish. And then it was like, oh, you're starting work tomorrow. And it weren't like a training day. It was like, all the kids are in. So get some sleep.
Yeah. So did you, I presume you didn't know very much about Thailand before then you got the job and went out?
No, it was kind of the in place, you know. Everybody seemed to be traveling to Thailand, and it was one of those countries that, you get to know a few teachers, and somebody they knew had gone to teach in Thailand.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, like I say, a shot in the dark for an interview. Somewhere out Thailand was popular with international schools. I thought, why not? And here we are. I didn't know much about it, you know, about the culture or anything like that. You made the decision, and you get given like a pack as you're building up to it. The process, I mean, the toughest part about it was initially was the process leading up to going, because they make you jump through so many hoops, like for visas. I had to go down to London 3 times, because London's the closest visa, you know, Thailand visa place for me. I went down. My passport had just expired the month before. Has expired. No, was it my passport? I think it was. No, it was my passport. No, it could have been my passport. What was it? DBS. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You get a DBS with teaching. You know what one of those is, and mine, you only get it when you start a new school. Right. And my DBS wasn't. Was from the year before, so it was dated just out of date, and I had to essentially go back again with a new document, which was a valid document to be able to go through the process.
Yeah,
something called an acro, you know, and to be able to and then have to go again to collect it. And then obviously you're sending all these forms over that they're making you sign. They're all in Thai, so I could have been signing myself to anything, really. Like, I didn't know what was going on. It's like, sign this, okay.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of forms and a lot of sitting there, you know, waiting, going down to London, etc. And then you have that thing where you think, oh God, what if I can't go? Because something will go wrong. And luckily, it ended up all working out fine on time and getting out here then.
How did you find adjusting to the kind of the culture and the lifestyle in Thailand? Was it, I mean, was it even really a big step, or did you find yourself, uh, living within the culture quite quickly?
I'd say I'm still adjusting, if I'm honest. I don't think you ever, you know me, Josh, British awkward man. Like, hello, like, and literally, like, and it, you learn different things all the time. You learn different things like hello is sawadee kap, and thank you is kapun kap. That's all I really know. I don't know that much. I've been here 10 months. It's like, they get me by. Like,
Well, in all seriousness, though, I suppose a positive, because I imagine you teach in a private school, don't you?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
imagine they must already have, like the students, sorry, must already have a decent grasp of the English language already.
some more than others because of I'm not in a place like Bangkok. I'm a place called Hat Yai, which is south,
Okay.
so it's less. I chose. I kind of like Hat Yai because it's not a touristy place. It's very authentic Thailand here. Everywhere else it's kind of westernized and there's like you can get any type of food, everything. This is real deal Thailand, and so the kids, yeah, on the whole, know a lot of English or know enough. There's some that don't, but there are programs in place. And the big thing I have to get across to people when I tell them about teaching English over here, everyone just goes, "Oh, you teach the language," and no, it's not true. I teach the subject like I would in the UK because it's an international school. They follow the British curriculum, so I don't teach them this is cat, this is dog. I teach them analysis of books and also, analysis of the language.
Mice and men.
I'm actually teaching them mice and men.
Well, at the moment, are you?
I am doing it year 8 at the moment.
The
And,
American dream.
I forget about the swear words. And
Yeah.
I'm doing online teaching at the minute, and they were reading out the other day. And usually, when it comes to a swear word, the kids kind of glaze over it. They go like "nasty girl" or this one yesterday. She went for it, full pout.
Wow.
13-year-old girl, full pout, and I was like,
No
okay,
fear. No
that's
fear.
fine.
Have they got to Curly's wife, the big scene yet? The Curly's wife scene and Lenny's scene yet?
No.
No.
We've got
Oh,
we've got that to come, which is going to be interesting to say the
Good
least.
luck for that one, mate.
I might just turn my camera off and just like hide away. But in response to like culture, like honestly, there's a lot different. A lot different. You don't shake hands on greeting; it's all bows. They're very big on national pride, so to do with the royal family. Every morning at school we have this thing, or we did when they were in, called flag raising, where the national anthem would be played. And I remember my first experience of that outside was we went to a floating market, and it was coming up to 6 o'clock, and we're just sat chatting, and then all of a sudden everybody stopped. It was like something out of Apocalypse, like an apocalypse film, because everyone's sort of like that. I'm with two Westerners, and we're all going like, "What on earth is happening here?" And then at 6 p.m. every day, the anthem plays. Where if you're in a public place like 7-Eleven or anything like that, they play the anthem, and you're expected to stop, either sing or just pay your respects. So yeah, there's loads of things like that catch you out. Like they don't, for example, on the lifts in this place, they don't have a number 13. It's 12A because they're that superstitious about the number 13.
I've read about that before. That before, actually. Yeah.
They skip to a 12A.
Wow.
And so many different things, like culture on the roads. They all drive mopeds and they're all crazy. Like, seriously, sometimes it'll be like something out of Wacky Races or something. There'll be like 3 or 4 of them, and they're like racing through. And you're thinking, that's why I've not got a bike. I stick to a taxi, mate, because if I got a bike, I wouldn't last a week.
Savor your life, mate. Savor your life. Don't make any rash decisions that you're going to regret.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
If do you think then, if you didn't make the decision to go to Thailand, you would have made the decision to tour elsewhere abroad? Bit of a difficult question, I know, but
potentially, absolutely. I came out here with, at the age I did, thinking, okay, I can do this. My mindset is it's not forever. As much as I'm enjoying the experience, it's not forever. I intend to settle in the UK. Even now, I'm 10 months in, and I don't know how long it's going to last, because initially it was 2 years, and then you're thinking, could I stay longer? And because COVID's affected traveling around, I'm obviously not being able to see places, which has then led to me thinking longer. Because more for me, I decided to travel around Thailand first, because you think, okay, you do Thailand, do all these crazy, great experiences like the Thai full moon party and everything like that, and then go elsewhere later on, like Vietnam, Bali, etc. Now I've got the potential to travel around Thailand in the summer, maybe, but I can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So it means that looking forward for staying longer, to just travel around the different places. Because that was, we didn't really touch upon that. With one of the decisions that made me come out here was the travel aspect as well. Because the holidays, financially you save a lot more, because everything's so much cheaper out here. When you're here, everything's cheaper. You can feed yourself for £2 on a full-blown Thai meal, and that will last. Yeah, it's crazy how much you save, which is what a lot of teachers that come abroad, that's why they come. And also the travel experience of having the 6 weeks to be able to go around and see all these different places and get that best of both worlds. Because when I've travelled, I got to travel on my own for the first time, Feb half term, and meeting all these people that are there, for 6 months going around. Yes, they've got that freedom, and I was very much bookended. I've got to go home. I've got to go back to work.
Yeah.
But I've got the money. I've got the money in comparison to these people that are on a shoestring. I've got that luxury of working and travelling at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. Never say never. Somewhere potentially in Europe after here, I'd say.
Yeah.
If not the UK. But yeah, there's places I want to see in the UK. Whether teaching, I don't know necessarily. But like I say, the Thailand thing came on very quick. So anything can happen.
Well, excuse me, and everything happens for a reason, and everything does happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that, and like you said, you've been there 10 months now, and I presume on the whole, you've loved it.
Yeah. No regrets. That's what I said when I came back. I came back at Christmas. That's the only time I've had 3 weeks at home at Christmas, but other than that, I've been out here.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it. Absolutely not. For the experiences, for the people, you get these awkward encounters. That's the big, the communication barrier is very much there, a lot. And you can never teach.
You're 6 hours ahead, aren't you? So.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant like day to day, communicate with Thais.
Sorry. I thought you meant communication with back home. Yeah.
You're right in that sense as well, being 6 hours ahead. I wake up to messages like yours. I wake up to these messages that have been sent early evening, which is when social media is prominent in the UK. I wake up to those, and then I have this window before 2 p.m. There's not much going on. I'm catching up on the night before.
Yeah.
So it is very strange to think, and sometimes you do forget, it's only that time there.
Yeah.
Especially when it was 7 hours, because it's 7 hours when the clock's around winter time, 7 hours ahead, and that's 6 hours. You can kind of get, midnight here would be 6 p.m. and you've still got, but 7 hours is a bit pushing it then.
Yeah, of course.
But especially watching football, that's a nightmare. I can't. No Super Sunday for me, mate. I am not waking up. Me.
No Jeff and the boys for you on Saturdays.
No Jeff and the boys for me. No.
So you talk about communication. Sorry to interrupt. But you talk about communication. Would you say communication with students? Would you say, because I wanted to ask you about what you think the biggest difficulties you found about teaching English abroad? Would you say communication is the biggest difficulty?
Yes, I'd say so, because, like I say, I teach the kids the English curriculum, like books and things. But even a low ability kid in the UK has a better grasp on the language that's used than a kid in Thailand, like a Thai national kid. It's just natural because it's their natural language. They grew up with that language as opposed to, I mean, I take my hat off to the kids that, especially the ones that it's fascinating seeing the kids at school that can just in the training of sentence go from speaking Thai to then English back to Thai. And, you know, it's admirable, but it's certainly the language barrier and helping those kids that are weaker understand, because you've got SEN, you've got kids that have learning difficulties. You add EAL into the mix, English as an additional language, and it becomes a whole different ballgame. You have to take your time. You have to. So I'd say so, and lack of resources for where I am. Personal to me, lack of resources, because Hat Yai, like I say, authentic Thailand. So getting books, you know, to be able to teach, it's less. If I was in Bangkok, it's easy, whereas here, not so much. So certainly at that level, but sort of, yeah, getting through to them. And also, one of the things, behaviour is a lot better over here than it is in the UK. But, I won't swear, but if someone's calling you an idiot, use your imagination, other words, in England, you know. In Thailand, they'll be communicating in Thai with their mates. You've got no clue. They could be calling you all sorts. You just got no idea. You're like going, yeah, let's do this then. Like,
yeah.
But certainly, yeah. That's the thing to look out for sure.
You must feel so. I mean, if that does happen, you must feel so awkward. Obviously, when they're all communicating in that language, like, you just want a translator there or something. Yeah. And
it happens quite. It happens quite a bit with some of the kids, because I've asked. At the end of the day, wherever you go, teenagers are teenagers, and if they're not having a good day, and you're not having, they're going to talk to each other in their native language, and then you sort of like, no, we need to speak in English, because for other subjects, my mate is a maths teacher. He says he lets them talk in Thai because they're explaining the process. With English, you can't do that necessarily. So it's harder for sure.
Is there a particular piece of like literature that your students have responded really well to, out of interest?
I'd say, Oliver Twist was quite a good one. With year 7. Because you've got their children around that sort of age to Oliver, and you can do that thing, like, because a big thing pushing us schools in general is that British values and that idea of being inclusive. So you're saying, okay, and like culturally inclusive, so different time periods, different countries, etc. So if I say to them, can you compare yourself to this boy? How would you feel in that situation? And then it helps them appreciate the book more, if they can relate to it themselves. So Oliver Twist, I'd say. Christmas Carol as an extension of that. I don't just teach Dickens, but Christmas Carol. You've all learned Charles Dickens. They appreciate that again for that sort of universal themes. That's what I've tried to do. I've tried to go with universal themes. I've done War Horse as well.
How they find War Horse?
Yeah. They're quite like in Animal Farm, actually. I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
And that was, I was umming and ahhing because I was thinking communism, Stalin, hard sell. Hard to get across.
Yeah.
And then I thought it's kind of that thing like a pig holding a gun. That's a funny thing wherever you are. So you use that as your way in, and it's quite fun thinking about what I can teach. Because that's the big thing where I am. I'm the only English teacher as well. I've gone from a department to being just me, head of department on the CV now.
Wow.
But it's less kids. Yeah. But it is that's a big challenge, because obviously when you've got a department, particularly as a young teacher, you've got that to fall back on. Somebody else can give you advice, or you can talk about it with somebody. Whereas being the only English teacher, you're kind of going, it's nice in some way, not as much pressure, and you make the choices. But then I'm learning from that, like planning schemes, work, etc. It's a different challenge for sure.
It must be
And
great
like I say,
freedom,
being
though.
as young as I am. Sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say you must have a great sense of freedom though, just to be able to almost not hand select. So obviously you got to keep to the English curriculum and stuff, but to have that freedom of choosing how you're going to do things and what you want to do, and it must be quite nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is a bit. You don't have to check with somebody. Is this all right? It's like, yes,
Yeah.
it is. Just tell yourself in the mirror, yes, it's all right. You will do that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very good then. Okay, so I'm just aware of the time, so I'll just ask one last question. It's quite a big question. So for one that's reading / watching this, that might have either be at university, or they might have left university, they might be thinking about teaching, and they might be considering to teach abroad. Do you have any advice for those people?
No.
No?
Okay. Advice. So, for teaching in general, or teaching both? Both?
Right, let's do both.
Right.
From your own experience, obviously, like you said, it's been about 3 years now. What advice would you give to the people?
So, teaching in general, if you've got a real passion for the subject, I'd say definitely give it a go. It can be very rewarding. I'd argue it's one of the most rewarding jobs. And don't be put off by the naysayers when it comes to teaching. People are very quick to go, the holidays, working 9 till 3:30. Don't be put off by the people that have an opinion.
Yeah.
And I think teaching in general is a target of that more than most professions. Give it a go, and don't be put off by teenagers or even little kids. Don't be put off by them, because when it hits and when it works, it is, like I say, the most rewarding thing. You can have that working relationship with them, that rapport, and you feel really like you are contributing something positive. So, yes, you might get some muppets, but sometimes they're the most endearing, and that's what you find. And certainly, I find it rewarding. And in terms of teaching as an extension internationally, like anything, life's full of risk, isn't it? Without getting too deep, life's full of risks, full of these big jump-off moments. Yeah. And this is certainly one that I haven't regretted personally, and I feel like you have the support there. It's kind of like university in a way, going to university. It's just I'm on the other side of the world. Yeah. Because you're going into the unknown, but there will be somebody doing the same. You're not going to be alone. You're not going to be the only one. There is a support network in place, because it's human nature to know it's a scary thing, and just embrace it. Embrace your time. It's hard to say that when you're sat, as I am now, on Netflix, gaming, staring forward, but embrace your time, absolutely. See things, try new things. Yeah. And because life's memories, at the end of the day, when you're sat really old and crippled, when you're, 90, looking back, you want those experiences, whatever that may be. And if teaching abroad is something you fancy doing, take that leap and see where it takes you. And there's always a way to get home as well. If it isn't for you, there's always a way back. Well, apart from now, but
there's not a global pandemic. But,
this is unprecedented. So,
well, that's a lovely point then to end off the conversation. Thank you so much, Flavels. I've loved having you on. I definitely want to get you on again to talk about music or something. I'd love to do that.
Happy days. I'm happy to help, mate. Thanks for doing this as well. It's something nice, something positive to come out of the lockdown.
Well, yeah. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy talking, so
And you're good at it. Well, you're good at it.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Blaz. Thank you so much.
Transfer me that 50 quid. Yeah. Transfer me that 50 quid.
All right. Take care, Blaz. Thank you very much, mate. Cheers.
And you. Look after yourself. Stay safe. See you later.
See you, man. See you later.